Hi, it's Scott. ROCKFILE back with another podcast review. Let's talk about 1974's telemovie, The Questor Tapes. I remember seeing this as a kid, and it blew my mind. I was probably 8 years old when it came out, and I saw it one more time, and then that was it. It's been out of print forever because it was a TV movie. It was made for television in 1974. The screenwriters, of course, you've heard of, Gene Roddenberry of Star Trek, Gene L. Coon of Star Trek. They wrote the script. Gene Roddenberry wrote the idea. They wrote the screenplay together. And D.C. Fontana, who was also a Star Trek alumni, wrote the novelization that was released and dedicated to Coon, who died just before the program was broadcast back in 1974. Movie stars Robert Foxworth, Mike Farrell, John Vernon, Lou Ayres, and several other people you would have recognized back in the day. And I think this is much better than most telemovies of its time. Way ahead of its time. The story is a scientist has provided plans for the first real artificially intelligent android, robot, whatever you want to call it back then. And so they built it not exactly knowing how everything worked, but they just put it together and it didn't work at first. Well, they leave it alone and it kind of activates and fixes its appearance and then leaves and goes on a quest to find its creator. This does not play out like a typical action movie would today. It's very thoughtful. It's very philosophical. The conversations he has with people, he takes Mike Farrell with him from MASH. Robert Foxworth plays the android, and he's doing an incredible job. I think this could have been a theatrical movie had it had a few more bells and whistles and been filmed in widescreen. It is pillar boxed on the Kino Lorber release. It's got bars on the sides. It's 1.33 to 1. And it's been restored from a 35 millimeter interpositive from back in the day. So it actually is restored from film, not videotape. But this won't blow you away. There were some grainy scenes. There were some scenes that were a little slightly blurry, slightly out of focus stuff. This was a made-for-TV movie. And for those that don't know the difference between films and movies, movies are filmed very quickly, or TV movies and TV shows are filmed in days, hours, whereas movies take weeks and months to film. So TV movies are never afforded the amount of time that you kind of get with a great film. But knowing that Gene Roddenberry had worked on Star Trek and some of the other pilots he had tried to get off the ground in the early 70s, I think this could have been so much more. It obviously has some conversations that later you'd have in Star Trek and that we're still having today about artificial intelligence. The way that the character of Questor responds to things is different than what we would make it today. We would make it very black and white. We would make it very Terminator-y, end of the world kind of stuff. But this is not where they go with this. They talk about, well, one of the many of the benefits that an artificial person could, help mankind do. There is some of the other side, but they don't get heavily into that until later in the movie. And I'm not going to give you any spoilers because I know a lot of people have never seen this. But I will say this has one of the greatest endings of a science fiction movie I have ever seen. Again, the movie doesn't look fantastic. It's an hour and 40 minutes long. You've got 2-channel mono, I believe. It might be stereo. The only extras are a textless intro and a promo, and that's about it. But it's right around $15 online, hovering between 12 and 16 on most online stores. If you're a fan of Gene Roddenberry's work, if you're a fan of early science fiction movies, this is definitely something more interesting than even I expected. I honestly bought it because I was getting it in another, order of things and saving on shipping and all that, because I'd wanted to see it again since I was a kid. But I really, in watching it, when I put it on, I'm like, well, if it's not that good, I'll do a review about that. But it was surprisingly good and well thought out. They obviously worked on the screenplay for quite some time because the dialogue is really good. It is very much a 1974 telemovie. It's even got, it fades to commercial and comes right back, that kind of thing. But it plays very well. It plays very intelligent. The back and forth between the android and the humans is just fascinating. There could be a little bit more action in it. It could move a little bit quicker, but I'm telling you, by the time you get to the end, this is way ahead of, I don't even think we'd put this kind of ending on a movie today. So kudos to Gene Roddenberry and everybody else who worked on this back in the day. There were a lot of people behind the scenes that worked on some pretty big, stuff back in the 70s. But I think it's really well made. Also, Gene Roddenberry, as the executive producer, gets major Majel Barrett Roddenberry. She is the voice of the computers in the Star Trek TV shows and movies, and she is the voice of the computer in this, and she's one of the scientists that are building the robot. I guess, when you're an executive producer and you wrote it, get your wife in your new your televised movie. Anyway, I thought the Questor tapes was great. It definitely is much better than its age, its budget, or even its filming would let you know. It's a really interesting science fiction story, and I'm gonna have to see if I can find the book if it's still in print, because it would play out very interestingly as a book as well. The Questor tapes, one of my favorites from childhood, and what do you know? It holds up very well. It's available from Kino Lorber for about $15. It's a telemovie from 1974 that has a lot to say that actually kind of fits in with what we're dealing with today. So check it out. Scott, I'm ROCKFILE. More podcasts on the way. More Halloween ones. Sorry, this wasn't really a horror movie, so it doesn't fall under my 31 horror movies of the month, but I'll get back to those next. Thank you for listening. Please like, share, and subscribe, and have a spectacular day.